In this activity, I am going to be measuring the hydrostatic pressure in the column. This one, which you see right here, by using both the pressure indicator, this one right here on the right, and I'm going also to be using the transmitter, the differential pressure transmitter. What I have done is I have connected the pressure indicator directly to the process. So you can see, let's get a little bit close here. So I have the indicator that is connected to the process. So the water that is in this column through this tube. And I have connected the other port of the indicator to the transmitter. And it's connected to the high pressure port, the one behind, which you can't see on the camera, or now you can see it. So I have left the low pressure inlet open, while the high pressure inlet is connected to to one of the ports of my pressure indicator. So the differential pressure transmitter is going to measure gauge pressure. Okay, so it's going to measure the hydrostatic pressure in my column, and it will that will be subtracted from the atmospheric pressure, so I will get gauge pressure. First, of course, it's unnecessary to connect the pressure indicator to my differential pressure transmitter, because my differential pressure transmitter can do more than what my pressure indicator can do. My pressure indicator can indicate pressure, gauge pressure, and that's about it. It can't transmit any information to a PLC, for example. Whereas my differential pressure transmitter can do both. It can measure gauge pressure. It can also transmit information. It can do much more than that, actually. It can measure flow. It can measure level. It can do arithmetics, so subtracting one pressure from another. So it can do a lot more than what my indicator can do. So what I have done here is unnecessary. It's unnecessary to connect the pressure indicator to the differential pressure transmitter, but nevertheless, I think it's still a good activity just to learn more about both instruments. So the first step is I have turned off both instruments, and I have bleeded both instruments. So in order to do that, I connected, as I said earlier, I connected the process to my pressure indicator. Then I connected the other port of my indicator to my differential pressure transmitter, and that impulse line is going into the high pressure inlet of my differential pressure transmitter. And I have bleeded both instruments by purging any air in both instruments from this vent. So I have unscrewed this vent, and so water came through this tube. So from this column through this tube into this instrument, the indicator, then out of this tube and into my differential pressure transmitter, and the air came out of this vent, and so there's water, actually, some in the bucket, some on the floor. So I have performed the bleeding operation, and so this connection bleeded both instruments. Now what I would like to do is, and of course after that I turned them on. The differential pressure transmitter requires a little bit of configuration. Takes a little bit longer to configure it than the indicator, but nevertheless, both have to be zeroed when there is no water in the column. So if we take a look at the reading here, it's 0.01. I had difficulty actually getting it to 0. And I notice it's very sensitive even to touch. And this is why I keep saying in my videos not to touch the instrument once you have completed your settings on it. And this right here is indicating 0.002. And that is in PSI. Okay. I could have spent more time to make sure that both of them are 0. But that would have required more time to get them both to 0. And that's what you would have to do if you actually absolutely need a 0 for both of them when there is no water in my column. Again, the problem that we have here in the caveau is that the ground is not leveled. And so it's a little bit hard to get the water to be straight inside the column. Nevertheless, this is good enough for this video. So my next step here is I'm going to pump water in the column, and I'm going to take readings from both instruments and compare it to the theoretical values, to theoretical measurements, that is. I'm going to get the water to 30 centimeters and make a reading. So I'm approximately at 30 centimeters here. So it's approximately 30 centimeters. Let's take a look at what I have here. .4 psi. Turn to my differential pressure indicator. Not indicator, but transmitter rather. 0.416 psi. So 0.416 psi, while this is 0.4 psi. So again, remember that they did not have both the same value when the water was almost at 0. So that will have an effect on the readings. So my readings are going to be a little bit skewed because they did not have the same value when the column was at 0. I'm going to raise it again and take another reading. So I'm approximately here at 50. I'm not quite at 50, but approximately. So I'm just going to go back and take a look at my readings. .68 psi. .69, 8 psi. Fairly close. They're a little bit off, but fairly close. Again, if you have to do something like this then you would need to be more accurate than what I have here. Both have to have the same exact value. Just going to raise it one more time and take just one more reading. Not quite at 70. This is just an approximation. It's around 70, a little bit less than that. Okay. Let's take a look at the readings that I'm getting. 0.96 psi. 0.98. So there is a difference of 0.02 there, approximately 0.02. Maybe it's a little bit less than that, but so 0.8, not 0.982 psi. This one right here is 0.96 psi.